Hi, everyone. I'm Frank Mallicoat, anchor reporter for KTVU Fox 2 here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Our guest is the founder and the CEO of College Shortcuts. It's a college admissions organization based out of Houston that helps high schoolers and parents kind of circumnavigate that college admissions process, which, of course, has been turned on its ear this past year because of COVID and learning from home. Let's say hi to Neha Gupta. Hi, Neha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I imagine you're a little busy.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe just a little. For those that aren't familiar with your company, tell us about it and how it works.
Absolutely. So College Shortcuts is a company that I founded where we work with students all over the country and the world through our mentors and our consultants. We help students all the way as early as 8th grade through the high school process and beyond in the application process. And then also we assist with mentorship, helping them find passion projects, helping them with test prep, and everything that you need as an A to Z in the admissions process.
All right. Well, let's throw COVID in on all that now. I know it's a difficult time for parents and especially for the students as they, grow up, juniors, seniors. How has COVID kind of changed everything, and especially learning from home the last year?
So a few things happened in the last year. First, we saw that the AP exams were shortened from 3 hours to 1 hour, and now they're going back to 3 hours, but they are keeping them online. This is usually a test to get college credit, to save money on tuition and to get more ahead in college. And it's a very important exam that's coming up. So many students are very stressed that it is still virtual. The second thing that COVID has done is that a lot of students are either in person or distance learning. And so grades are going to be taken with a grain of salt in terms of the fact that there's so many differences in how students are learning. So that can be a bit of a challenge. But there are many different things that are happening over the last 12 months. We saw that just recently Harvard announced that they had 47% increase in applications in the last year. So many people thought that COVID would result in students maybe not applying or staying at community college or locally. The opposite occurred, and students were on average putting in 15 applications. Typically the average is 8 to 10. So a lot of students, because they went test optional last year, they decided to put in more applications all over the country. So we're seeing the competition has actually gotten higher due to COVID because so many schools went test optional.
Well, I imagine kids have got to be freaking out a little bit because, the grades are down a little bit. It's just not this perfect system, although it was imperfect before. But what advice would you give parents and kids that, to kind of get the ball rolling and to ease their frazzled nerves a little bit?
Yeah, I would say one of the big things is that, we can always look at things either in the negative or positive. And for me, I feel like the changes that are happening have been needing to happen for the last 10 years. In the sense that before it was all about your GPA and your SAT or ACT score. And now that's been turned on its head. Yes, those are still important factors, but now Common App has released a new essay prompt that allows students to talk about gratitude and how they've been grateful for someone if they've done something nice for them. These are personal development questions. So we're starting to see that the admissions process is less about the score and more about the story. And that's why so many students have this hope and they're applying to more schools and they're saying, hey, I'm not being graded just on a number or a test I took for 3 hours. I'm getting to write my story or my experience in the last year and really showcase who I am. So from our perspective, yes, can we look at things and say, wow, it's gotten more competitive, it's more challenging? Absolutely. But in terms of getting the next steps right, I would recommend that families understand the essay prompts are out. They came out in February, so they can start thinking and noodling on those different essay prompts. They need to already have built their college list at this point if they've got a junior going into senior year. If they are able to take the SAT, ACT, get prepped for that. We obviously help with that. And make sure you are prepped and find a location and sign up early because a lot of these tests get canceled. Make sure your kid is prepped for the APs and start the application process soon. We saw a major increase in clients last year because so many students couldn't go to college and visit. They needed to get that college consultant by their side who understands what the different schools are and where is going to be the right fit. Because this is a large investment, and we know it's very important. Where your child goes to college makes a very big difference in their job opportunities, and so much more. So we're very focused on making sure that even with all the changes and difficulties, we're there to serve and help all these families.
Well, let's talk about that essay, because that seems to be the wild card. Numbers don't lie, test scores don't lie, but putting pen to paper or fingers to your computer, that's an important part of this. And I mean, what's the secret? Just leading with your heart?
Yes. So this is a great question. We get a lot of students that are really into math, science, or technical backgrounds. And so for them to open up vulnerably, share, and maybe talk about their obstacles or the hardest things they've dealt with is not something natural for them. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes to the essay process, this is what we call one of the most important parts. Common App's new essay prompt that used to be about researching a problem and a solution turned into a new prompt that says, reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? This is huge. I mean, for some students, it could be, I was isolated and, I gave my parents COVID, and one of my friends came by and dropped off soup and knocked on the door, and I saw them through the window and what that meant to them during that time. It could be all sorts of different little moments or memories over the last year where they can really showcase their values, their integrity, their grit, what they've been through in the last year. And so from our viewpoint, the essay is hands down the most important thing. I've said this probably almost like a broken record for the last 10 years. You can have great scores, you can have a great GPA, you can do everything right. But if your essay does not hit on point, you will not get accepted. And that's because they're looking for humans. They're looking for a diverse freshman class, and your scores help to get you in the door, but the story is what really gets you accepted.
Well, it's kind of your fingerprint because it's uniquely you, right?
Exactly. No one else can say the same thing that you're saying in the way that you're saying it. And so that is a major part of what we do with students, because unfortunately, high schools are failing their kids in how to write in a journalistic manner, or express things. I'm sure Frank, in your line of work, there's ways to express things that really move people and make them take action. And so we help to do that with students, where they can understand sometimes the hardest thing you've been through can actually be the most important message that you share. For me, my teenage years were partly the hardest parts of my life. And so the hardest time of my life, even though I was a top performer, and with the anxiety and stress I had, has a lot to do with why I do what I do every single day. So we forget as teenagers that sometimes the hardships and obstacles are really the most powerful stories or expressions of who we are.
Well, what do they say? You learn from your failures or your obstacles a lot more than your wins. That's for sure.
So true. No one learns from sitting around watching Netflix all day, chilling out, eating a bunch of food. They learn from when, the rubber hits the road. That's when you really learn who you are.
Although occasionally that's fun too.
Totally.
Well, let's talk about SATs. What is the status of those? How important are they? And are we still taking them? Where are we there?
We are still taking them 3 hours with masks on and spaced out. So it's really fascinating. Students are still taking the SAT and ACT, but the one biggest change that happened that I never thought would happen in the history of college admissions is that SAT 2 subject tests got completely permanently canceled. Now, these exams are the subject tests that let colleges know, hey, I'm really good at math 2 or chemistry or physics or English or these different subject exams to showcase why they're interested in certain majors. And now it's gone. So for a lot of students that are really good at scoring things, they're pretty frustrated about this. But the reason why College Board did this is because students may get only one chance to take the SAT, ACT. Normally, on average, they take it 3 times. So if kids are taking up spots for this side test of an SAT 2, it's just not as relevant. So that's why they went ahead and canceled it. So that's a big change for this year.
You touched on it a little bit, but GPAs are not weighted as heavily just because no one's had the same education, really, because we're doing this some are in class. How do admissions look at that now? If you got a kid with a 4.2 and a kid with a 3.8?
So, I mean, word on the street, when I talk to students, sometimes they're, depending on the school system, they are at their desk, completely covered in plexiglass, masks, 9 hours, 8 hours a day, no recess, lunch at your desk, no social interaction. This is a very hard time. I mean, this is why I'm so passionate about the fact that mentors need to be, even if it's virtually, having someone by your kid's side. They may not share everything with you because a parent's view is like, well, you got to go to school. And the thing is, these students are really struggling in school. Some of them are now preferring online learning because they can be at home, eat what they want. They don't have to wear a mask. They can breathe and relax. So schools know that different schools are doing different things. And so it's very important to, again, take the GPA a little bit with a grain of salt. Now, a student who's taking challenging classes, doing their homework, there's going to take a level of proactiveness this year from the student's part to, in a way, kind of self-teach themselves. Not to say that the teachers are not available. It's just that this is a time where students really have to be on it in a way that they probably haven't in the past, where their hand was held a little bit more closer. But colleges are being very understanding. Now, it doesn't mean that a student can, go from making all A's and tanking and making all D's. It's not that situation where they'll be understanding in that way, but they are going to take a look at other aspects like the essay, the resume, and the other parts of the application.
Right, right. Netflix is currently running the movie Varsity Blues. I saw it. I thought it was terrific. It's, it's roughly what happened with actors and whatnot. Has that changed because of that? Has it changed the admissions process a little bit?
What's very interesting about that movie, and I've watched it now twice, and I've studied it, I read the legal case on it as well. I think one of the most important things to realize is that when you do the math out, it's 0.0001% of families that were doing this in comparison to the amount of students that apply year after year. So we have to realize this is very, although it's very salacious and it's definitely a scheme, it was a very small percentage in comparison to the majority of people that apply the correct way. Right. I think from my perspective, absolutely it has changed admissions in terms of, doing things in an ethical, honest way. The major reason why at College Shortcuts, we interview every family we speak with for over 45 minutes. Because if our values don't align, we're not interested in working with them. When I watched the documentary and it said, Rick Singer barely slept, he always had a level of tension at all times. He wasn't personable. He was always stressed. I mean, how can you sleep at night when you're doing this type of behavior? For me, I sleep 8 hours a night. I take great care of my health because I know I'm doing everything above board. I'm ethical and, it's tough. Families want that guarantee. And I think the truth is that this is a beautiful expression in a way of a movie that was created to show this is what happens when you take things too far. And from our perspective, it was pretty disgusting to watch from my perspective as a college consultant, because it really kind of discredits a lot of us. I would say 99.9% of us that don't do that type of behavior. But I think it also gave a perspective for parents to realize that college consulting does exist. It is an industry, and there's nothing wrong, with getting outside help as long as it's done in an ethical, honest way. And they did point out the truth is there's over 500 students on average to one counselor. When you add COVID to the mix, this is very hard for that counselor to read through everything. So from our perspective, again, I'm an optimist. So I do believe that parents can look at this, they can talk to their children about it. We can have a conversation and a dialogue that may not have been there before to talk about things like, hey, I really want you to be passionate. I want you to go into school that's right for you, that you deserve to get into. And rejection is hard. I think it's very hard, but hey, we got to teach our kids this early on. We can't just expect to hold their hand all the way through. And the big thing I tell families too is if they don't get in, whenever one door closes, 100 open. And that's my viewpoint on it. You weren't meant to go there. based on your karma. You weren't meant to go there. You're going to go somewhere else and they're going to treat you great. And that's where you need to go. And that's why I think mentorship is so powerful, because it helps the student to have someone close to their age to be like, they don't deserve you. You're good. You're going to go here instead. But a college consultant's job is to really try to up the chances by working with them, finessing a student, packaging them well, teaching them how to interview. These are things that aren't taught in high school.
Right.
We have to help these kids.
Yeah, and their skills that they can use well beyond that in whatever job they do.
Absolutely.
I had a wrestling coach said, you do the work if you want to get ahead, and if you don't, you ain't gonna make it. So that's kind of the bottom line there. What do you think? What do you think the fall semester is going to look like at most colleges?
So I mean, we've got the vaccine rolling out now to all ages, depending on which state. From what I've understood from my students that are on campus right now, because I love hearing from all of them. So they've let us know, college is not the same, that's for sure, in terms of the experience, but a lot of them are on campus. So I do feel that fall of this year, if I could predict it, is that colleges are going to be on campus, mostly all of them at this point, if they require a vaccination or how they're going to do this. But I think the goal is, I think everyone wants to go back to their version of normal. And I think as a whole, the world is a little tired. And so from our perspective, we believe that fall of this year is going to be colleges trying to create some form of normalcy during the developmental stages of these children, and to create an experience that really makes sure these students are getting the learning they need for the jobs that they want after they graduate. So I truly believe that this fall, we're going to see colleges resuming as normal. Secondly, though, we're going to see competition is still going to be more fierce probably than ever before in the admissions process. I recently did a reading on acceptance rates of the top 25 schools. All of them have dropped in the last year. So it is more competitive, but again, it's more competitive because they're looking at the other parts of the application that truly matter. In my opinion, you should accept a student based. Yes, they should be smart enough to handle the school. Yes, grades matter. But the fact of the matter is that the story and who they actually are, what they stand for, what they're passionate about, this is what matters. And this change is going to be very powerful in admissions. I'm very excited about these changes. I think it's just going to make sure that kids are being viewed as much more than just numbers and as actual people that have feelings, that have values. And to me, that's what truly matters in the admissions process.
Amen to that. Okay, I'm a junior, senior in high school, or I'm an 8th grader, freshman. Give me advice for those on their way up and those about to leave the nest.
Absolutely. So the families that are, starting in 8th or 9th grade, I think one of the biggest concerns is that what do we do as extracurriculars? Because a lot of things are canceled or their fear of, catching COVID. So one of the things I recommend and that we're doing with our students is we're doing capstone projects, we're doing passion projects with students. We're having the conversations around what are you interested in? What do you want to do? And early on, you want your student to showcase why they want to do what they want to do in college. Because one of the big things we found is that it's way better for your child to learn now if they hate something versus if they love something. So each year we recommend doing a project. And who knows, it could be a few weeks and they go, I am never going to do that profession. I at one point thought I was going to solve cancer or do PT, physical therapy. I'm watching my mom do physical therapy. I was like, there's no way I'd have the patience to do physical therapy for these people. I'd be good at it, but would I be happy?
Yeah.
So what is the best way to learn that is to learn early, to create projects around shadowing and understanding what are your interests and what you want to do. Parents are busy. This is why we do that for them. The second thing is if you're a junior or senior, if you're a senior, you're hanging out waiting to hear your acceptance letter. If you're a junior right now, again, it's looking at the SAT, looking at the essay prompts, building your college list, get a college consultant, start lining things up. Last year, when the pandemic hit, we had a little bit of silence in March, and then come April, we were completely booked. So we've actually hired more in the last few months than we've ever had in the past to help make sure that we are fully staffed and ready because of the amount of families that come to us. But once we run out of spots, we run out of spots. And that's what happened to us last year. So we recommend getting ahead of time because August 1st applications open. We're already pretty much in April at this point. So that's only a few months away that applications open and students are applying.
Yeah. No day like today, I guess, right?
Yes.
You were talking about, kids getting involved early. We do internships, throughout television. And,
That's great.
sometimes you get an intern that's really eager and loves it because I want to be a sportscaster or a newscaster. Sometimes you get a kid that said, Frank, God bless you. I appreciate what you do. But after 3 months here, I think I want to do something else, which is great. I always tell them because, why put all this effort into something, go into it for 5 years and not like it? So if you can put your finger or your toe into the water early, it's great advice.
Yes, I had a mentor early on say, Neha, the world is your oyster. And that was, I will always remember that mentor saying that to me because they literally said to me, Neha, you're the type of person that whatever you put your mind to, you're going to be great at it because you're very driven and motivated. You can always, like I had an internship where I didn't actually enjoy what I did, but they were like, you can always come back. The door is always open for you. And so I think that was just really helpful for someone at a young age to say, hey, I may not like this now, maybe I need it later. And they're always going to be excited to have me because I left a good impression. I showed up, I was confident. These are all skills that we try to teach early on with our programs because you can still not like something, but you can still leave a good impression. And I think that's great the way he said it. He did it for 3 months with you. He said, wow, Frank, what you do is, it's hard work, but hey, I may not have the personality for it. That is an amazing awareness to gain.
Yeah, I spoke to some kids at Arizona State a couple of weeks ago, and I said, get through journalism. The most important thing you can learn is how to write, be persuasive, shove a 2-pound rock in a 1-pound sack and make it interesting. And if journalism isn't your bag, those skills are going to take care of you in just about every other field. So
yes. And we tell that to students all the time. The fact that you can learn how to be finessed, what to wear during an interview, how to stand out, your resume. We have students that use the same resume. They update it. They know how to update it for jobs that are getting 6-figure jobs just based on the tools we teach them. Because getting into college is the first step. But if you can teach someone those skills, they can be successful in all the other areas later on in life as well.
All right. Tell us how to get in touch if we're interested. We got kids that are in the pipeline. What do they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to collegeshortcuts.com. In the top corner, you can go ahead and hit the apply button or call us and schedule a call with us. We'd love to speak with you to really understand your situation, how we can best serve you, and make sure you're taken care of during a time that is unprecedented.
Yeah, it is a crazy time, but we're heading in a good direction. That's Neha Gupta. She is the CEO of College Shortcuts and the founder as well, and a busy lady. Neha, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Always. Thank you.
All right. If you'd like more information, you go to newsnowfox.com as well. I'm Frank Mallicoat. Have a great day, everybody.